Hey everyone, today I've got a fairly quick news update, but also a fairly important one as well, and that's the fact that the week of delays that we've had so far, it's rolling on full steam ahead because earlier this week we had Marvel's Avengers delayed later into the year, and we also had Final Fantasy VII Remake delayed a few weeks. Those are obviously two big delays for highly anticipated games, but we've got a third here, we've got a hat-trick going on, because CD Projekt Red has also announced that Cyberpunk 2077 will also be delayed. Let's take a look at their statement, shall we? We have important news regarding Cyberpunk 2077's release date that we'd like to share with you today. Cyberpunk 2077 won't make the April release window, and we're moving the launch to September 17th, 2020. We are currently at a stage where the game is complete and playable, but there's still work to be done. Night City is massive, full of stories, content and places to visit, but due to the sheer scale and complexity of it all, we need more time to finish playtesting, fixing and polishing. We want Cyberpunk 2077 to be our crowning achievement for this generation, and postponing launch will give us the precious months we need to make the game perfect. Expect more regular updates on progress as we get closer to the new release date. We're really looking forward to seeing you in Night City. Thank you for your ongoing support. Well, there you have it. I'm personally not all that surprised about Cyberpunk getting delayed. Obviously, didn't necessarily want it to be delayed, but alas, this is how it's going, and I'm totally cool with it as always. You know, I feel like when reporting on delays, I'm just kind of repeating myself a lot, and I think that's kind of the case for everyone in the industry. All games outlets just kind of end up repeating themselves, because we all, I think, at least predominantly agree that delays are always a good thing. They're always about making the game better. Who really cares at the end of the day whether or not we play the game in 4 months or 3 months or a year or whatever, you know? As long as the game is in its best possible form, in its best shape possible, then who really cares, right? But because it's my most anticipated game at the moment, and because I've talked about it a lot on the channel, I thought I should share my thoughts on it nonetheless. The reason I'm not surprised by the news, and the reason I kind of always had a feeling that it was not going to make the April date, the two main reasons are that CD Projekt Red has had a pretty clear track record with delays in the past. I'm not entirely sure about the history of The Witcher 1 and 2's kind of release window thing going on there, but I know The Witcher 3 didn't hit its original release date, and I believe that game was delayed twice. I know it was originally intended to release in 2014 and of course came in May of 2015, so there's already a precedent there with CD Projekt Red's huge open world RPGs that they don't make the original date that they say, and the April date for Cyberpunk was the first date we ever got for that game. So in my mind, it's like, well, they did this with Witcher 3, they didn't make that game's original date. It would make sense, given, of course, how ambitious Cyberpunk is, how it is a huge step for the developer. It would make sense that they would perhaps once again not make that date. I guess it was always possible that they learned from Witcher 3 and that they didn't announce the April date unless they were confident in it, but the fact of the matter is, game development is very complicated, and I'm sure that at some point earlier last year that they were confident in the April date, that they believed that the April date was something they were going to be able to hit, but naturally as time progresses, as development progresses, more things came up and they just weren't able to do that. Another big red flag for me was the fact that late last year, CD Projekt Red held a kind of preview event Q&A for certain members of Games Press to be able to see more of Cyberpunk 2077 asked questions, and this isn't really a logical kind of thought process of mine, but I kind of noticed the way in which the developers were discussing the game to these members of the games media in a way that to me implied that it's just not quite ready. They weren't talking about the game in a way that I feel people would talk about a game that is only 3 months away, you know? I don't think you really use the kind of language of, oh, we would do this or we might do that, we'll think about this. You don't really talk about a game that way, a project that way, when it's only 3 months away. At that point, you're basically doing final polishing of the title, which is kind of what they mentioned in the statement. So it never really made sense to me that they would choose to discuss the game in that specific manner when it was going to be releasing in a few months. That to me indicated it was further than we thought. But I think this September release date, at least how it stands right now with how we know other games are coming out in 2020, I think that it's a good date for the game. I think that it's a good time. We really don't have any other games that we know about releasing in the September period. We have Ghost of Tsushima we know coming in summer, so presumably a little bit before that. But at this point, Cyberpunk has September to itself, which I think is really great for CD Projekt Red. Naturally, September could end up filling up really soon. We know that it's a few months before next gen, so I highly doubt it. I think that Cyberpunk will end up being one of the few games in that month, but who knows? We don't know what Ubisoft's kind of planning for this year and other main publishers like EA, etc. So there's always a chance that September also ends up filling up with games we don't even know about yet. Who knows? Maybe Assassin's Creed Ragnarok also releases in September. But for now, I think it's great that CD Projekt Red has that month to themselves. To end this off, I'm totally cool waiting for the game, like I said. It was kind of already weird for me. I couldn't really process in my brain the fact that Cyberpunk 2077, this game we've known about for years at this point, is actually, or would be, releasing in April. I haven't even been able to comprehend that the last few weeks, so the fact that it's been delayed honestly makes a little more sense in my brain. But anyway, now I'm rambling on. What are your thoughts on this Cyberpunk delay? I can't imagine there'd be anything too shocking, but nonetheless, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Subscribe, like the video if you liked it, and all that good stuff. This has been SirCazz. Farewell.